So the point of the matter is, if you're going to condemn Israel because of its discriminatory practices against Palestinians, and I agree with you, you should, well, at least have some backbone, balls and consistency to also condemn the Palestinian Authority for its discriminatory practices against Christians in the West Bank and Gaza. Do you do that? Mansour, do you condemn, Mansour, the Islamic invasion of Spain?
Listen, you need to move away from
No.
Move away from
Why are you pushing? Why are you pushing? I'm nowhere near him. I'm a foot away. Mansour, do you condemn the Islamic invasion of Spain, Mansour?
Do you condemn Israeli terrorists?
Yes. Mansour, do you condemn Hamas targeting civilians, Mansour?
Do you condemn Israel bombing babies to bits?
Mansour,
Do you condemn Israel bombing kids to bits?
Do you condemn
Israel bombing
killing
kids to
converts?
bits?
There is a bigger issue going on than Palestine or Israel. It is the fact that the Muslim world is marshalling the cause of Palestine to draw you into circles of influence and lower your guard so that they can advance Sharia law that would make you a second-class citizen in your own land. Why are you changing the subject, Mansour?
He just changed the subject.
Why are you changing the subject?
Look at the quickness of the pen.
I'll talk to you about Palestine and Israel. I'll talk to you about Palestine and Israel.
So we started by talking about ISIS, and he just changed the subject to Palestine and Israel.
They're running away.
You can't defend your paedophile. Did your mum give you a name? Changing the subject because it's hard. Stop running! Stop running, Mansour!
Come on, Mansour! Go, Mansour!
Subject.
Who are you talking to about?
Yeah, with calls.
You are scared. You are scared. You are so scared.
Yeah, Bob.
Be so scared.
Bob.
Hurry up! Come on! Bob, him.
I actually came here today to talk about Israel and Palestine. I haven't talked about it once because everyone keeps politically irrelevant.
Look at those people. He couldn't defend his paedophilia, so he turned it into Israel. What a nice cop-out.
So what we noticed is that despite the lectures that were given last week by a certain Mr. Clay about not interrupting, we see that Mansour does exactly that. Proving the point
What are you doing now, you hypocrite?
Come on.
Muslim teach in the park, one rule for them.
What are you doing, hypocrite? Mansour! Come on!
Mansour, come on!
Come on, Mansour!
Bob is here! Let's do this!
Come
Stop
on.
being a coward!
Debate Bob, Mansour!
He's a coward!
So you condemn the actions of Israel.
Playing your game. We were talking about Muhammad's pedophilia.
Why not talk about
Why is it all of you Muslims condemn me for interrupting conversations, and yet none of you are condemning Mansour for doing the same? Double standards! Once again, the Dawah team show that they live by double standards. Notice these two right here complain about me interrupting conversations, but they're not condemning Mansour for doing the same. Double standards by the Dawah team.
Hypocrisy of the Christianity team. The Muslim Christianity are living with double standards.
Mohammed having sex with a child.
Do you condemn Israeli terrorism?
Do you condemn Muhammad having sex with a child, bro?
I don't know enough about the subject.
Do you condemn your biblical God was a
enough about
pedophile?
We
condemn Hamas.
We condemn Hamas.
Stop running, Mansour!
Everybody
Do
behave.
you condemn BJP? Don't worry.
Stop talking about that.
I'll debate Palestine and Israel.
Stop talking about that.
I don't listen to
You're debating, Mansour, stop running! Mansour, you are a coward! You are a coward!
You see,
I don't know enough
the
about
Dawah team learn from every topic about their religion. And practice self-defenders.
Christians are being
Condemn terrorists. Just a simple question. Muslim terrorists.
I want to talk to you about condemning the Prophet Muhammad. Can you talk to me about that? I want to debate you about that.
What Israel is doing. That's all I want to know.
I would support Israel in a qualified way.
Bob, I want to debate you about that.
So what it means is, I don't think that we should give carte blanche to everything that Israel does.
Coward.
I actually think that Israel is guilty of doing things that are wrong.
You're the hypocrite! Hurry up and debate Bob!
Don't
What are you running, bro? You are such a coward! Hey! You are a coward! You are a coward, bro! You are a Risen indeed, man!
Let's talk about Palestine. JC.
The problem that I have is we've had terrorist states in lots of different places around the world. Sorry, just
It's alright, don't worry about it.
America has bombed Al Qaeda. America has bombed the Taliban.
Yep.
All of that has happened in the places that they are. You're not going to, like Gaza. You're
Yep.
saying the bombs are dropping in Gaza. 2003 to 2008, bombs were dropping in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and all those places, right? With a lot less civilian casualties than Israel has done in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the difference? Is Israel targeting Hamas, or are they targeting civilians and they're just like, you know what, fuck it?
Right, so hold on one second, because there's a false dichotomy that's being pushed that we're in the danger of falling into,
Okay.
which is this idea that you've either got to be pro-Palestinian and against Israel, or pro-Israel and against Palestine. Well, I'm a Christian, which means that I am not a supporter of Israel or Palestine. I'm a supporter of the Christian church, and the Christian church suffers because of Israel and because of Hamas. Let's remember that Palestinian Christians are targeted by Hamas.
And Israel.
No, I'm talking about just inside Palestine. They're targeted by Hamas.
Are they?
Because they are Christian.
Why-
Christians, one second.
Okay.
Christians in the West Bank do not have the same rights as Muslims in the West Bank.
No.
Not just because of Israel,
Have more.
but also because of the West Bank authorities. Christians cannot proselytize Muslims. Christians cannot convert Muslims. Christian men cannot marry Muslim women. They are treated as second-class citizens across the Palestinian state.
Muslims can't become Christians.
Yes, we've said that. So the point of the matter is, if you're going to condemn Israel because of its discriminatory practices against Palestinians, and I agree with you, you should, well, at least have some backbone, balls and consistency to also condemn the Palestinian Authority for its discriminatory practices against Christians in the West Bank and Gaza. Do you do that?
Who's in charge in the West Bank?
The PLO. Do you condemn the discriminatory practices of the Palestinian Authority against Christians in the West Bank?
I can't condemn anything that I have no knowledge about.
Okay, let's say, but what Bob is saying is
Wait.
true.
If you can
it's
show me
true-
an example.
Hypothetically,
Hypothetically,
would you?
If it's true, of course I would.
Right, so now all of you need to do is go away and do a little bit of research about the discrimination that Palestinians face
Right.
by Israel because they're Palestinian and by the Palestinian authorities because they're Christian.
Okay, so did that exist before Israel became a nation?
Yes.
Did it?
Yes.
So you're
Yes.
telling me.
I'm going to.
So you're
do you want more info?
No. I know the info here.
Oh wait. So you knew it existed before?
Listen, you're telling me that there wasn't peace in Palestine between Jews, Christians, and Muslims in the Holy Land.
So, before the state of Israel was created by the British in 1948, there wasn't a Palestinian state. It was a protectorate that came out of the Ottoman Empire. And it came out of the settlement of 1918. And before 1918, Christians were discriminated against by the Ottoman Empire because of Sharia law. So I can't take lectures from Muslims when they themselves support discriminatory laws against Christians.
One second. First of all, I want to talk about the politics. I don't want to go into religion at all because I've quite frankly had enough of it today. But if we're going to go on to that, what is discriminatory about Sharia law?
I'll give you some examples. So the brother has asked me, what is discriminatory about Sharia law? So let's just boil it down, because these are real things that were done to the Christians of the past. And there are lots of Muslims in this park that would like to see these things happen again to Christians. Are you listening? Are you listening? 1, Christians couldn't repair their churches without the permission of the state. 2, Christian men couldn't marry Muslim women. 3, Christians couldn't seek to convert Muslims. If a Muslim converted to Christianity, they could be killed, executed. 4, Christians had to pay taxes called the jizya tax, which was nothing but a protection racket that would mean they're paying for their lives and their property.
Can we talk about jizya then?
Wait 1 second. Do you disagree? Do you condemn those practices?
No.
There you go. Did you see? He wants us to condemn Israel, but he won't condemn the discriminatory practices of Sharia law.
Listen, it's an opinion. You think those practices are bad. Yes. But you haven't understood those practices.
Okay, so you don't think there's anything bad about killing people because they become Christian?
I didn't say that.
He didn't say that. That is literally what you just said.
Show me examples where Muslims became Christians and they were not killed.
So let's be
It
clear.
happened all the time.
It's happening right now in the UK. Let's just be clear what he's just said.
That's culture.
Let's just be clear what he's...
Culture.
So do you condemn the practice of apostasy, that when a Muslim wants to become a Christian, they can be killed? Do you condemn that?
Of course, so no one should be
Oh,
killed.
so now you do condemn it?
No one should be killed.
Great,
Right?
so you're
If they're
better than Sharia law then?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I
You are.
I want to talk about this jizya that everyone has a fucking problem with. Jizya, right? Please explain to the Muslim what jizya is.
Okay, so we've got a Muslim here.
I know what it is.
We've got a Muslim
I
here.
know what you know what it is.
We've got a Muslim here that condemns his own religion. So he needs to be applauded.
I need
Now notice, the other Muslim wants him to stop talking. And we see this in the park all the time.
Why are you afraid of the truth?
Why are you afraid of an honest debate? Why? So I'm lying then. Apostasy law isn't part of Islam. Apostasy law isn't part of Islam. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Is there such a thing as an apostasy law in Sharia law?
I don't know.
Is there such a thing as an apostasy law in Sharia law?
In Sharia law.
There you go. So I'm not lying. So I'm not lying.
I'm not talking about that.
So he says that I'm lying, but he agrees with my facts.
I'm talking about what he said before.
So am I talking in facts or in
What he
lies?
said before that, I'm talking about.
So let's come back to our conversation. Let's come back to our conversation. So let's come back to our conversation. Okay? So
No.
let's talk about jizya. Let's talk about
The thing
jizya.
is, are you here to preach or are you here to learn something?
What
One question.
bro?
One question. Are you here to learn something or are you here to
You wanted to
preach?
talk about Israel.
Are you here
We are
to
talking
dictate-
about
he's
Israel.
only here
Now
to
notice this Muslim is saying don't talk.
No. Listen, I'm asking.
Do you know why? Because every time we debate anything about Islam, the Muslims lose the debate and people see what Islam actually is. He's doing it right now.
Are you here to learn something or are you
Yeah, I'm here
preach?
to learn. If you've got
Are you
something
sure?
to teach me. Right. So let's talk about jizya.
Okay.
Okay. Because what we've established is that you don't know about Sharia law. Because you don't know
I know
about the
about jizya.
apostasy.
I know
Right.
about jizya.
So let me tell you what jizya is.
Okay, go
Because
on.
that's what you asked me to do. There's an example of jizya tax. And we can use the Islamic literature, the hadiths, when they talk about the Banu, the Jewish tribes in the Kaaba, you see, you're not even listening, are you?
Jizya even applied anywhere.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I haven't finished. I'm just now. Here's the thing. You're not listening.
I am. My ear is
Okay.
talking to you.
So the Kaaba. What happened to the Jewish tribes in the Kaaba? They were defeated in battle, and they were told that all of their property now belongs to the Muslim community.
Where is this?
It's in the Hadiths, Sahih, Sahih Muslim. Yeah,
What hadith?
yeah.
Hadith number.
Sahih Muslim,
Sorry,
Sahih Muslim,
where was
Sahih
this?
Bukhari.
Not hadith.
So
Where was this?
this was in the Arabian Peninsula,
In the Arabian Peninsula.
around Medina.
Around Medina.
It's called the Khyber Valley. There was a Jewish confederacy.
Yeah.
There was a Jewish confederacy.
What
People, can you look it up? The hadith about not the massacre, the bit where they had to pay 50% of their goods. Yeah, yeah, we're looking for it. We're looking for it because the thing is, guys, we get this all the time with these hypocrites. All the time with these hypocrites. They say, "Show me the reference," and then in the end, we always find the reference. They always deny, but then the evidence comes out.
You're the hypocrite.
So here's a hypocrite who's frightened, to honest debate.
You're calling me names. Now
Yeah.
I'm calling him names.
So,
What's
what happened to these Jews? They were defeated in battle. We're looking for the reference right now.
Yeah, carry on.
They were defeated in battle,
Everything belonged to the Muslims, and then they had to pay tax.
and then they had to pay a tax. This jizya tax was 50% of their income
Okay.
that they had to pay to the Muslims.
I want to know-
If they didn't
Right,
pay this
that needs
tax,
to be referenced.
if they didn't pay this tax, they would be enslaved or killed.
Brother, it's better
No, I don't.
Now, do you agree with that?
No, listen. Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
You're saying 50% and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what your literature says.
I want to see the hadith that you.
Yeah, we're going to try and find it for you. I haven't got it on me right now.
Because the truth is, right, I'm going to go a bit more recent time.
Yeah.
When the Muslims conquered Spain.
Yeah.
And the Jews were there.
Thank you for admitting when the
Right.
Muslims conquered Spain.
The Muslims conquered the Mediterranean.
What right did they have to do that? What right did they have to do that?
Afraid of Muslims having conversations.
Why? What right did they have to do that? Now notice, the Muslims are desperate for him to stop talking. They're desperate for him to stop talking. Because the Muslims lose the argument all the time. They are there you go. There you go. There you go. They're desperate for us not to debate them. Remember, Mansour demanded a debate about Palestine and Israel. They demanded a debate. And yet what we have seen is that they have been exposed because they want you all to condemn Israel for its discriminatory practices, but they believe in discriminatory practices against Christians and Jews. Christians, wake up!
Yes, wake up.
England, wake up! France, wake up! Now notice, Muhammad Ali said that this was bad behaviour. But Muhammad Ali will not ask him to come and apologise to me.
Excuse me, sir.
Do you see the hypocrisy? Do you see the hypocrisy?
Jimmy Savile.
Muhammad Ali is a Muslim who comes to the park. No, he's just a Muslim that comes to the park. And he attacked me because I challenged Muslims in argument. He challenged.
And why do
Sorry,
you keep coming
sorry,
out
I'm
with
talking
the
to him.
question every week?
So they challenged.
Doesn't it mean-
They challenged. No, I'm really not. They challenged me because they interrupted. They say I interrupted, but yet they do it themselves. Their hypocrisy is shown for what it is. They are shown for what it is. You need to wake up. You need to wake up. They want you to condemn Israel for the things that they would do to you. They want you to condemn Israel when they would do to you the things that Israel does to Palestine. Under Sharia law, we will be treated worse than the Palestinians are treated under Israel. An Arab, Palestinian, Israeli citizen is treated better by the state of Israel, then any Jew or Christian will be trapped by Sharia law. And you need to wake up to that fact. Sharia law is the invention of Muslims who interpret the Quran and the Hadiths. And the Quran and the Hadiths lay down principles of discrimination against Jews and Christians. And it was exposed when this guy, when I asked him about whether Muslims had the right to invade non-Muslim lands, and he was silent because he couldn't condemn it. He couldn't condemn it. You couldn't condemn Muslims invading non-Christian lands. Were Muslims right to invade Spain? Were Muslims right to invade Spain? Answer. See? What do you mean? He's baffled by the idea. What do you mean Muslims invade Spain? You see? Did you invade? Oh, no one complained. Oh dear. Notice, he just justified the occupation of Christian lands. That's what he did. That's what he did. Don't be fooled by the Islamists. They will treat you worse than Israel treats the Palestinians if Sharia law comes to dominate.
In one area alone, General Dyer, he is the grandson. Google it, don't let him fool you. He's getting paid for his job. Don't think like you don't know you're the grandchild of General Dyer.
I know that.
General Dyer, the
I know, bro. I know. Liar. Guys, you have to free your mind from the lies of liberalism. You have to free your mind from the lies of liberalism. Liberalism wants to tell you that Islam is a benign and harmless force and idea. That is a lie. That is a lie. He couldn't condemn the Islamic invasion of Spain. He couldn't condemn the murder of apostates. Do you see what Islam does to your mind? So, do you condemn? Do you condemn? Yes. Do you condemn the invasion of Christian Spain? Do you invade? Not all of them. No. The invasion of Nazi Germany. There you go. Why should I condemn it? Why should I condemn it? So what you see, guys, they say to you, condemn Israel, but let us do worse to you. Condemn Israel, but we will do worse to you. The Muslims who believe in imposing Sharia law believe in doing worse to you than Israel does to the Palestinians.
And they don't let us complain about it.
And then if we expose them, what do they do? So, do you condemn? Let's see if he condemns. Do you condemn the Sharia practice of killing Muslims who become Christians? So, what country does it happen in? Let's stand next to this guy. Let's debate that. So, do you condemn? Do you condemn?
Are you
condemn?
exempt?
Do you notice how triggered they are? Do you notice how absent of reasoned debate he is?
Who are they?
You, the Dawah team. The Dawah team. You're the Dawah team. He's the Dawah team. There we go. So, listen to how absent of reason they are. They just want to shout. Yes, they just want to shout. They just want to argue. They just want to shout. So notice how he behaves. So now, because of his behavior, we can go and challenge the Muslims. So let's go and find Mansour. Okay, let's calm down.
I'm loud in the room.
Where's Mansour? Mansour! Peace be, bro. You alright? Mansour!
He's a cameraman now. He's a cameraman now.
Mansour! Do you condemn Mansour? The Islamic invasion of Spain?
Listen, you need to move away from
No,
him.
no, no.
Move away from him.
Why are you
Move
pushing?
away from him.
Why are you pushing? I'm nowhere near him. I'm a full way. Mansour, do you condemn the Islamic invasion of Spain, Mansour?
Do you condemn Israeli terrorists?
Mansour, do you condemn Hamas targeting civilians,
Do you
Mansour?
condemn Israel bombing babies to bits?
Mansour,
Do you condemn
do you
Israel bombing kids to
condemn?
bits?
Do you condemn
Israel bombing
killing
kids to bits?
converts
Do you condemn Israel
to
bombing kids?
Christianity,
What are you gonna do?
Mansour?
Comment that he's going to do something. Do you condemn
Do you
Israel
condemn
bombing kids
Mansour?
to bits? Do you
condemn Mansour?
Israel
Mansour!
bombing kids to bits?
Mansour,
Do you
answer the
condemn Israel
question.
bombing- Do you
Answer the
condemn
question.
Israel? Do you condemn
Innocent.
Israel?
Are
Do you condemn
Israelis
Israel?
civi- are
Do you condemn
Israelis
Israel
innocent?
bombing kids to bits?
Are Israelis innocent, Mansour?
Bombing kids to bits?
Mansour, are Israelis innocent, Mansour?
Running.
You
Why are you running, Mansour?
Anonymous coward.
You interrupted the debate, Mansour. You interrupted, Mansour.
Do you condemn
Mansour.
Israel?
Well, you stood there, bro. No one forced you to. 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 You stood there by choice. You forced your way there. You forced your way there. Mansour, do you condemn? Do you condemn the targeting? Mansour, do you condemn Islamic terrorism, Mansour?
You coward! You coward!
Do you? I'm asking you, Mansour. I'm asking you, Mansour.
You condemn babies! You condemn babies! You condemn babies killing! You coward!
Are Israelis innocent, Mansour? Are Israelis innocent, Mansour?
You're a waste!
Are Israelis innocent, Mansour?
Coward!
Are Israelis innocent, Mansour?
Babies burning to pieces!
Are you?
What? What are you gonna do, bro?
Yeah, why are you getting excited?
What are you gonna do?
Why are you getting excited?
You condemn
Why are you
this.
getting excited?
You condemn this.
Why are you getting
You condemn
excited?
this.
Calm
You
down.
condemn this.
Calm down.
Do you condemn this?
Calm down.
Do you condemn this?
Calm down.
You have to
Let him shout. Calm down. Keep it calm.
Look at this.
Keep yourselves calm.
Look at this. Look at this.
He's wound up.
Look at this. Look at this.
Don't bite. Don't bite. Calm down.
Blowing babies into pieces.
Calm down, guys. Don't calm down. Don't let him wind you up.
Blowing babies. Look at this.
Yeah. Don't let him wind you up. So,
Israel, you coward, you dare come to me about Hamas.
terrorists, Hamas terrorists target civilians and they don't condemn it.
He doesn't care about Hamas.
There's a reason why bombs are not falling in the West Bank.
Look, you waste man.
There is a reason.
Look, you condemn that.
Yes, I condemn that.
You condemn that.
There you go. I condemn that. I condemn that. I condemn that. Do you see? I condemn that. But there is a reason, Ali. There is a reason why bombs are not falling in the West Bank. It's because the West Bank are not firing rockets into Israel.
Bye, you coward.
Bye.
He threatened to punch me in the face and then he couldn't go through with it.
It's all right. Let him talk. Let him talk. So, let us. So, I'll do a wrap up over here. I'll do a wrap up over here.
What happened there, Bob? All right, you condemn Hamas.
Guys, come away. Don't bite. Come away. So, here's what we see. I'm just thinking, okay, can you hear me? Right. So here's what we see. Muslims want to engage you about the discussion on Israel and Palestine. And they want you to condemn Palestine and support Israel. And there is limited support. Ask him, bring the brother away. Let's bring the brother away.
Shame on your
Shame on your prophet! Shame on your prophet.
Yes, yes.
Uncle. Shame on Muhammad.
Shame on Muhammad.
Shame on Muhammad. Come on, Uncle. Come on, Uncle. Come away. Let's keep it calm. Let's keep it calm. Come on.
We are calm.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we're seeing. Come away, guys. Come away. Let them have their moment. Okay, bro. Okay. So let's just be clear. They want you to condemn Israel. But as we saw with the Muslim who wanted to talk about Israel and Palestine, we saw that they are quite willing to support laws and ideas that would treat the Christian and Jew worse than Israel treats its Arab citizens. The Arab citizen of Israel has more rights in Israel than Sharia law would afford to any Christian or Jew. So what you've got to understand, guys, is that they are trying to draw you into something while hiding the fact that they, particularly the Islamists, want to impose something worse on you. And we saw that. They condemn Israel while justifying the invasion of Spain. Now, also, the Muslims condemn people interrupting them when they interrupt themselves, as we're seeing again right here. But don't feed him. Don't feed him the troll. So the reality is, guys, we need to wake up that the real issue is what would happen under Sharia law if the Palestinian Islamists won. The Jews would be treated worse. The Christians would be treated worse than Israel. Now, Ali Dawah, through his dicky fit, through his childish temper tantrum, and threatened to punch a Christian brother in the face. Yeah, he did that. But why did he do that? Because of the death of a child, which we should all condemn. But he doesn't condemn Hamas for targeting civilians in Israel. He doesn't condemn Hamas for persecuting Palestinian Christians. He doesn't condemn that. Neither does Mansour. So they want to villainize you for accepting that Israel has the right to fight terrorists. But they themselves are supporters of terrorism. They themselves won't condemn terrorism. Did you see how easy it was for me to condemn the murder of a Palestinian child?
Very easy.
Do you know why?
Why, Bob?
Because I am a disciple of Christ. But do you see how difficult they found it to condemn the targeting of women and children?
Very difficult.
They didn't. Why?
Why?
Because they're disciples of Muhammad. And Muhammad, in the hadith, said this.
What did he say, Bob?
When one of his Sahaba said, should we raid them even though we might expose their women and children to harm? Muhammad said, they are among them. They are from among them, the pagans. In other words, it doesn't matter. And that is why they can't condemn Hamas for targeting women and children, but we as Christians can. So which moral system is better? That of Jesus Christ or that of Muhammad?
Jesus!
Brutal combo.